Welcome to the Vision Driven Balanced Trading Podcast. Shout out to all you guys tuning in, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you guys listening, and of course you guys watching on YouTube as well. For you guys who are on YouTube right now, you guys are noticing that it probably looks a little bit different than normal. If you guys watched the vlog, which I believe dropped on Tuesday or Wednesday, I talked about how I was getting a new camera and how the old system that I was using to record my podcast was going to be put on the back burners for now until I need it, maybe an interview, whatever, but I was getting a better camera. So first podcast using that camera, so getting a chance to be able to see what this looks like. From what I can tell now, it looks good, so we'll see how it looks when I end up uploading it and all that stuff and getting it all edited and all that stuff. So, but I'm excited to use it. I've used it a little bit in the gym this past week, so going to really help take the quality of really everything that I do up a little bit, which is awesome. Obviously, that's the goal. So excited about that, and you guys are going to kind of see that firsthand. So speaking of that, if you guys missed the vlog that I'm talking about now, make sure you guys go check that out. I literally take you through a day in the life of just what I do, and it was just kind of a normal day, especially not really normal because our state is kind of locked down. Because a lot of things are closed, so we're not really locked down, but a lot of things are closed, so things look a little bit different. But I took you guys just through morning, what I do, and then throughout the rest of the day. So go ahead and check that out if you guys are interested in that. I'm also gonna have another vlog dropping this week, and actually it's gonna be about my younger brother Cam. And this has been I didn't expect to have as many requests as I have gotten about this. But I've had a lot of people request to have videos of Cam, and actually I had a couple people request a day in the life of Cam, and like they want to just get a bigger, like a more in-depth view of that. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'll preface this, but so my brother's a senior in high school right now, and so he's kind of going through his whole recruiting thing right now. Obviously January, so the season's starting up actually this week for us, so he's getting ready to go with that. So we went through a just day in the life of what his days have looked like, and that was pretty awesome. We also have a workout coming with him too, so a bunch of stuff coming over the next week, 2 weeks. So be prepared for all that stuff. But again, that's why I love having this camera, because I can just do more stuff now. So anyway, also I missed this, but Happy New Year to everybody who's watching this. First podcast of 2021. And honestly, just before I even get into it, thank you guys so much for this year. I'm going to have to post on Instagram at some point about this. But, this year has been crazy. I remember a year ago, January 2020, I had less than 1,000 subscribers. I probably had 600 subscribers in January. And now I'm at probably getting close to 16,000. And so that's 1 year right there. And, it's I wouldn't have even thought I would be, and I'm not anywhere yet. I'm still not that big, but compared to where I was, it can be good to take a step back. I'm not really like that. Usually I'm just a go. I don't like to take a step back and kind of be just appreciative of what I've done, because I see how much farther I have to go. And but I think it's a good thing to be able to kind of take a step back and then just recognize the progress that this channel's made, and that's all thanks to you guys, and especially you guys who I see comments on every video, liking every post, and always DMing me all this stuff. Like you guys are the ones who really make this stuff happen. So I'm very, very appreciative of all you guys. And of course this is the start. This is year one right here. Right, so we're really just getting started with all this, and the best thing about this YouTube stuff is that it's really exponential, right? So we saw some growth year one, and then year two is where it just takes off, right? So I've got stuff in the works, and I'm planning on facilitating that as best as I can. Again, I appreciate you guys who have been supportive and are going to continue to support, and you guys are awesome. So thank you guys so much. Hope that you guys have a great 2021, and that's what this episode's all about, is how you can make 2021 the best that you can possibly make it. Now, just a little brief recap on 2020. I'm not going to sit here and throw around all these cliches to you guys about how 2020 was this, 2020 was that, because I'm sure you guys have heard them a million times. Every person who's talked about 2020 has talked about how it's a tough year and all this stuff, and yes, it absolutely was. But that's not the point of this video. Obviously, we know that stuff, so I'm not going to repeat what you guys already have heard been said a million times. The one thing I will say about 2020 that I haven't heard a ton of people talk about is how 2020 taught us a lesson that you have way less control over things than you thought that you had, right? I have way less control over things than I thought that I had. The craziest thing about 2020 from a basketball perspective, obviously a ton of other stuff, but from a basketball perspective, like, who would have thought that the NBA could just get canceled for whatever it was, 3 months, 4 months? Like, who would have thought that that could happen? Who would have thought that March Madness would get canceled? Who would have thought that, I guess at that point we were pretty, the high school season, the AAU season was looking pretty bleak. But I mean, who would have thought in years past that high school seasons would get canceled or AAU seasons would get canceled? Like, that's crazy, right? Because it just seems like that's something that's always there. It's always like, yeah, every winter, every November, we play basketball. And we play basketball November, December, January, February, March. And then it's the off season, and we play AAU in April, May, June, July. And then it's August, so we have a couple months of nothing, and then boom, we're back in the gym end of October, November. Like, that's what it is, right? And so it's so weird now that that's not the case for a lot of people. A lot of people have not had that same exact thing. For me, obviously, it's been different. For I'm sure a ton of you guys, I get messages from you guys all the time talking about how your season's been canceled or how it's gotten pushed back or all this extra stuff. So now we recognize that we have way less control over things than you might have thought previously. And so the people who are going to be able to thrive moving forward are the ones who are going to be able to, first of all, accept this, because it can be hard to accept that you don't have that much control, that you're not in control of everything. There's a lot of things that you have to kind of let go. So the people who can accept that and then not dwell on that, right? Not dwell on, I can't do this, I can't do that, and I can't do, like, they're the ones who are saying, hey, you know what? What do I control? What can I get done? And I think for you guys, that's going to be a big thing moving forward. For me, definitely, that's something that I have to constantly remind myself. I heard a quote, and I think I want to say it was PJF Performance who said this on maybe an Instagram story, and it basically was something like, don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. Now, I don't know if that's his quote or not, but that's where I saw it from, and I thought it was great. I think I screenshotted it. Like, that's such a great point. Like, and I get messages all the time from guys saying, hey, I don't have a hoop, I don't have this, I don't have that. Well, that might be one thing, but there's certainly other things you can do, right? You can definitely, if you have basketball, you can definitely work on your ball handling. You can definitely do some like form shooting where you just shoot straight up in the air, looking at your rotation, your arc, and all that stuff, and getting a good feel for your shot. Like, there's stuff that you can do. So don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. And that's really going to be the message that I have for you guys moving forward in 2021 is there's things that you want to be able to control, and you got to be able to accept that and then figure out what you can do. Okay. And if you do that, then you're going to be in a position to be the most successful that you can possibly be. So that's kind of my message moving into 2021. But I want to talk about 3 specific ways that you can make 2021 the best year of your basketball development yet. Okay. And I think that if you do these 3 things, 2021 is going to be really, really good for you from a basketball perspective. Okay. And now is really the time to lock down and be ready to go and be ready to make those changes and evaluate how this past year went and then move forward with it. So that's really where I would start. Before I even get to those three reasons or those 3 points to make, how was your year basketball-wise, right? From a just straight up development perspective, how well did your year go, right? What progress did you make? Maybe last year, you didn't get very much playing time, and then this year you were a starter, right? So there's some progress to be proud of right there. Maybe you didn't get much playing time last year, and you also didn't get much playing time this year. So now it's time to ask yourself, like, well, why is that? What do I need to do that's going to get me better? And really, another question to ask yourself when it comes to that is, what can I do that's going to help my team win, right? How can I contribute to a winning team? How can I contribute to winning basketball? The number one skill, I always talk about this, shooting is the most important skill of basketball, right? And I said ball handling was second. But that's actually not true, because the number one most important skill in basketball is your ability to contribute to winning. Shout out to Drew Hanlon for that. That's where I heard that from. Basically, all that means is that if you can help your team win, your coach will play you, your coach will put the ball in your hands, and you're going to really be able to do what you do. If you can't contribute to winning, then you won't get playing time and you won't have the ball in your hands. And it's really as simple as that. So how do you contribute to winning? Is it are you a really good point guard and you can handle the ball well, you can pass, you can set up the offense, you understand the game well, you have a high IQ? Well, then that's what you got to double down on and be like, okay, I'm going to be great at this, so that way that's how I contribute to winning. Okay? Are you a spot up shooter? Are you a guy who's going to be able to space the floor and hit shots? Well, if that's the case, you better make sure that you do your job really, really well. Okay? Or, are you a defensive stopper, right? Is that your job? Are you going to be the best defender? Well, now it's like, okay, I got to make sure that I can do that. And then, of course, we're going to get into how you can add to that and kind of mold your game. But really, you want to figure out, how can I contribute best to winning? And maybe you don't have anything right now. So you got to think to yourself, okay, well, what can I add to my game that's going to help me to contribute to winning? Maybe I'm already an okay shooter, so develop that skill. Maybe you're already okay with the ball in your hands, so develop that skill. And maybe you're an okay athlete, so develop your ability to play defense. That's really what it comes down to. So you want to evaluate how your 2020 went from a development perspective, and then either keep on doing what you're doing or adjust accordingly. So the number one thing, and this kind of goes along with that, the number one point that you need to follow if you want to have a great 2021 from a basketball perspective is you need to have a plan. Okay, super, super simple, but nobody does it. And listen, this is stuff that I've got to listen to as well in terms of my own business stuff. Like when I'm talking about like my training stuff, like what's my plan going forward for this year? That's something that I absolutely have to do as well. But for you guys as basketball players, it's crucially important that you have a plan for how you are going to go about your development this year. Okay. Now, this really starts off with what I just talked about, mapping out what your strengths and your weaknesses are. So, are you a great shooter? Cool. Are you not great with the ball in your hands? Cool. Well, understand, figure out your big strengths and then your weaknesses. And ideally, you're going to pick between 3 or 4, because obviously there's a lot of areas in basketball you could pick. You could say, listen, I'm not good at using ball screens. Or you might even go more specific. You might say, I'm not good at shooting off ball screens. I'm not good at, shooting off of wide pin downs. I'm not good at, doing this, that, and the other. I'm not good at handling pressure. I'm not good at finishing with my left hand on, with my off foot. I'm not good at floaters. I'm not good at step backs. I'm not good at this. Like, you can pick a million things, but let's not do that. Let's kind of narrow this down a little bit. So let's say, you're a good shooter, okay? You're a good ball handler, but you're not a great finisher, and we'll also say that you're not great at creating your own shot, okay? So there we go. There's 4 things right there to focus on, where we can kind of map out a plan and say, how can I hit these 4 things? I would say 3 to 4 things is probably where you want to start. Now, if you would look back in, May, June, July, and you've that's different. Maybe at that point you can create your shot pretty well, and maybe you can finish pretty well too. Maybe that's where you change up what you focus on then, right? But for now, 3 or 4 areas that are your strengths, your weaknesses, stuff that you need to build on, and then let's build a plan to attack those areas. Become a great shooter, okay? Become the best shooter on your team, and become a great ball handler as well. And then as you develop those things that are going to get you the playing time, right? The stuff that's going to help you contribute to winning right away. And also, as you get better at those, you're going to be able to contribute to winning even more. Maybe you already are a starter, but if you got even better at those couple skills that you're already good at, now you could be like, you could be the guy on your team. You could be option number 1, right? That could be that could be the jump that you make. So we want to continue to develop those strengths, but also if you have a couple, weaknesses, right? You're not great finishing with your left hand. You're not great creating your own shot. Well, that's where we can also start to develop those as well. So now not only are you better at those skills you're already good at and you already get playing time for, now you also have a couple other things you can add to your game. So again, now you have the opportunity to be an even more effective player. Okay, so having a plan, mapping out your strengths and weaknesses, that's really a big deal to start off with. The other thing to do is you need to come up with the overall plan of attack. And what I mean by that is there's a quote by Warren Buffett, and he says, "An idiot with a plan can beat a genius without a plan." Right? So just going back to what I was saying, having those 3 or 4 strengths and weaknesses that you're picking, right? Then it becomes developing a plan for how you're going to actually get better at that. So I talked about this actually. I want you guys to go back on my channel. I talked about I think it was the last video or 2 videos ago, where I broke down basically how to create your workout schedule, how to structure your workouts, and it literally takes you through step by step by step. So if you have a specific area you want to get better at, you need to watch that video, and it's going to help you a ton on learning how you can actually do that. So That's a big deal right there, that you guys make sure you have a plan. So typically when I say that, I typically mean that you want to have at least 3 or 4 workouts that you can kind of cycle through. They're going to kind of hit those skills, okay? And for the most part, I would say each workout should be kind of focused on one of those. But again, it kind of depends on where you're at. If you're more of a beginner, sometimes it's going to be okay to be more broad with how you focus. But if you're a little more advanced, then it might be, okay, this workout's got to be kind of laser focused on shooting off the dribble. Or this workout's got to be kind of laser focused on a specific type of separation move. So maybe we're really focused on step backs, or we're really focused on the punch drag or the inverted drag, whatever it might be. And again, that video explains a little bit more in depth for you guys. But have some workouts you can cycle through. Maybe that's 8 workouts that you cycle through. Maybe you cycle through them. Maybe you do 4 of those workouts for a month, and then you do the next 4 for the next month. Right? That's an option for you, but you want to at least have a plan. Okay, that's basically what I'm getting at. You don't want to just be the guy who's out doing whatever, because the thing is, without a plan, it's very easy to have all of your attention, right? Like all of your effort is going towards basketball, right? You're working out and you're doing this, but it's really easy to be doing a lot, but actually getting nothing done. Where you're getting to the gym every day and you're working on something, but if I were to ask you at the end of the year what you worked on, you wouldn't be able to tell me, right? If you go to the gym and I asked you when you get back, oh, what'd you work on today? You would say, I worked on, I don't know. Like you wouldn't know because you didn't have a plan. Okay, so you want to have a plan moving forward. That's going to be a big thing because it's going to allow you to keep your focus targeted, and that's where you actually start to make progress because you know that what you're doing is actually going to move you towards your goals, right? So that's a big thing right there, and that's why that quote is so applicable. An idiot with a plan can beat a genius without a plan. Okay, because that idiot at least is focused on what he's doing, right? And whereas that genius is kind of all over the place with what he's doing. So that's a big thing for you to think about right there. So that's number 1 for you. Have a plan. Biggest thing right there, have a plan for this year. Point number 2 that I want to make is that you don't just want to be workout focused. And what I mean by this is that there's so much more to basketball, to getting better at basketball than workouts. Obviously, workouts are important, but it's not just about who has the best workouts or who does this program or who does that or who works the hardest. Like, there's more to it. Obviously, that stuff is important, but it's not the only thing, okay? And it certainly is not the only thing that you should be worried about or focusing on. There's other aspects that you need to be able to hit as well if you want to make sure that you maximize how you develop as a player. I think the biggest area is your overall strength and athleticism development. I think that's such a big area because there's so much correlation between how you move and how you can play basketball, right? The skills are important, but ultimately you have to be able to be a good enough athlete to be able to execute those things at a high level. There's plenty of guys out there who are crazy skilled, right? Crazy skilled, but they don't have the athleticism to compete at the highest levels, right? There's plenty of guys who aren't in the NBA who are way more skilled than a lot of guys in the NBA. But guess what? The guy in the NBA is a better athlete, so he's there. Okay, so it's important that you aren't just focused on your skills, on your workout stuff. You also have to make sure that you hit that athleticism piece, that strength piece. My recommendation for this is, I have an at-home strength workout you can check out on my channel. If you have access to like a trainer, obviously in person, that would be great. That's probably the best case scenario for you. Someone who's knowledgeable and does that for a living, ideally. A lot of times you might have coaches or people like that who can help you with that stuff as well. I always will recommend guys with some of this. Like one guy that I recommend is PJF Performance, and he does a lot of stuff with he's very basketball centric. His stuff is built for basketball players, though it will be good for really any athlete. And it does a lot with just developing yourself as an athlete in general. So I would go check him out. He's certainly one of the best at that sort of stuff. And but like I said, guys, super important that you're not just workout focused. You're not basketball workout focused. You also be worried about the other stuff as well, the other side of the game. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are doing that stuff, but to continue to recognize that the importance of that. Okay, it can't be overstated how important it is to also develop that side of you as well, because that's such a crucial part of basketball. It's not just your skills, also how good of an athlete are you? Because if you aren't a good athlete, you're gonna lose to guys who are better athletes than you ultimately, because they're gonna at some point, everyone's gonna have skills, right? Everyone's gonna be fairly skilled, right? Especially as you get higher and higher up. Then the separation becomes who's the athletes, right? Who's the athletes? And then that's where you see guys kind of separate themselves. So start to develop that as early as you can, okay? And then that's just going to help you in general. Not only is it going to help you become a better athlete, but also it's going to allow you to be more efficient in how you train. So you're going to develop much quicker from a skills perspective as well, because you're able to move better. And then that's where you start to see that sort of compound. So that's one area to kind of think about. The other thing too is just, I think one thing that a lot of players don't do. I have a couple of you guys actually. Shout out to so Caleb is one of them. A couple other guys who will always be DMing me, telling me about the books they're reading, the film they're watching, all this stuff, right? Like, that's stuff that you guys should be doing. And I think especially reading books. I think one thing with books is that it doesn't just have to be basketball. So there's a couple basketball books that I recommend. I think Toughness by Jay Billis is a must-read book. If you haven't read that book, go read Toughness by Jay Billis. Like, do it. Like, if that's the one thing you take from this podcast, go read that book. Just go do it. Okay, I promise you it's going to be very, very worth it. So find that book. I don't know if any libraries are open right now, honestly, but go on Amazon. It's $10. It's the best $10 you'll spend. Okay, so go do that, or find it online, whatever. Like, go read that book. But aside from basketball, like, there's other things that you can do that aren't, like, other books you can read that aren't just basketball related. So, you might read books about, mindset, or I think a good one is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That's one book where it's like, man, this dude is very, very inspiring. And there's books like that. So what I'm also getting at is that you don't just want to use basketball as a tool to get you better at basketball, right? That's obviously important. We want to get better at basketball. That's why we're here. But you can use basketball to become a better person in general, right? To just become better at life in general. And I think part of that is, learning and being willing to learn as much as you can and become as valuable as you can. And you get that through reading. I think reading is such an underused, underappreciated form of learning for a lot of players, because, you guys are in school and then you guys have to read books for school. So now you get this stigma that, like, oh, books are boring and I have to read books for school, so why would I read any extra books? Well, I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff that you can learn from books, guys, and especially books that you want to read. And I think for that, like, it's at that point it becomes very, very worth it. So just getting your hands on books that you find interesting, that are going to help you with something, that maybe target mindset or target whatever. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you can do when it comes to that. But I constantly be trying to get better, right? From just a mental perspective, just constantly be trying to get better, and it's going to pay off for you basketball-wise, but also not basketball-wise. So again, I think, a good goal for this year would be, for those of you guys who don't read that much, try and read a book a month, right? It's not too hard. You read a couple pages a day, you'll finish it pretty easily. For those of you guys who already are, like, crazy good readers, there's a lot of people out there who do a 52 books in 52 weeks challenge, where every week of the year they read a book. Now, that's pretty extreme, but hey, I mean, if you're up to it, then go for it. But trying to read, just more than you did last year. I think that's the big thing I'm getting at. So that's one thing to focus on. And then obviously on top of that, watching basketball, right? Watching college basketball, watching the NBA, and then watching, film breakdowns, watching IQ breakdowns. All that sort of stuff is going to be helpful for you as well. So continue to do that. Learn as much as you can. Become better mentally. Recognize that it's not just about getting better workouts for this year. That's obviously important, but there's other aspects to it as well. So if you can focus on those other aspects too, and as a whole become a better basketball player, a better person, then that's going to contribute to this year being really, really great for your development as well. So my last point to make about how to make this year the best year of your basketball development yet is to commit to taking action. And what you don't want to do, and I see this all the time, is you don't want to be a player who is sitting around watching YouTube video, like watching basketball workouts on YouTube, watching all this stuff, watching all my videos, and then you just go out and just do nothing, right? You're like, oh yeah, I watch his videos, but you don't actually go out and apply anything. Okay? You go watch, and I'm sure a lot of you guys follow a lot of different trainers and a lot of different pages, and you watch the stuff, and then you just don't do any of it, right? There's no point in that. And it's very easy to do that, paralysis by analysis, right? There's so much stuff out there. There's so much information out there that it's easy to just go watch it all and then not even know where to start, okay? So if that's you, if you just feel like you're overwhelmed with stuff, then I would say lessen the amount of people that you watch. Pick a few guys that you like to learn from and just stick with that. And then if that's the case, then that's ultimately going to help you to be able to apply more of what you learn, because you're only focusing on a couple different people. and there's not a lot of extra stuff that you're trying to sift through, trying to figure out, oh, do I do this or that or this or that, and like you're just all jumbled, right? So pick a couple guys. Now, if that's not you, and maybe you're just like, well, I know what I need to do, but I just like watching videos, and and you just get caught up in that. Sometimes it could even feel like you might watch a video, right, and you get really, really inspired by it. You're like, oh yeah, you know what, you're right. Like I got to go do this. You know, coach, that was a great point that you made. Like I got to do that, and then that kind of just wears off, right? Or you watch a video, and then that feels like you actually went out and did something. Right, that can happen to me sometimes too. This is not just a basketball player problem. This is every area. Like people who watch business videos, there's a ton of people out there who talk about, oh yeah, I'm going to start a business, and they just never do it because they watch all these videos on YouTube of other people doing it, and then they never do it, right? And that can be for anything really. And it's the same with basketball. You might watch a basketball workout of someone else working out, but then you don't go work out. So commit to taking action this year. Right? When in doubt, when you feel like I don't know what to do, take action. Like when in doubt, that's what you gotta do. Just keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward, and don't get bogged down by the specifics. The paralysis by analysis, like, oh, I've got to make sure things got to be perfect for me, right? I got to make sure that everything is perfect, everything is in line. I'm doing the perfect workouts and the perfect program and the perfect this and that. That's not what matters. What matters is that you actually go out and you start to make progress. Okay, you have your plan. Your plan might not be perfect. Nobody's plan is perfect, guys. Like let's get that out of the way. There is no such thing as a perfect plan. There's no such thing as a perfect. Okay, if you do this, and this, and then you do that, that's perfect. Like you can't do it any better than that. There's always ways to improve. Everybody's got to get better at something. So there's no point in trying to make things perfect because it just doesn't exist. And nobody's perfect. As much of a front as people might try and put on, there's no such thing as a perfect thing for anybody. The goal is just to make it as good as possible. And then adjust. So if you decide that you start your plan and you think, oh, I think I actually should have done this instead. Well, you have the freedom to adjust that, right? It's not something you have to stick to forever, but you won't know that until you actually start and get that experience. So commit this year to taking action, okay? When it comes to your on-court workouts, when it comes to your strength and athleticism stuff, when it comes to just reading a book. If you don't think, oh, I don't know what book to read, find a book and read it. And if you don't like it, cool, pick a different one. That's fine. But commit to taking more action this year. All right. Don't be the guy who sits on the sideline, right? Be a player in the game. Don't be a spectator. Okay. And if you embody that mindset, again, that's going to help you to just not stay stagnant. Where a lot of people are going to be unsure of themselves and not know what to do, you're going to be moving and you're going to figure it out. Okay. You will. Trust me, you will figure things out when you start to do that. And again, all those three reasons together, developing a plan, making sure that you have everything laid out for yourself so that you are focused and all of your effort is moving you towards where you actually want to go. Number one right there. Number two, not just being workout focused. No, understanding that there's a holistic view to the game of basketball and also just being a person that you shouldn't ignore. And you need to make sure that you take those into account as well and develop those. And a lot of times that's just as important as your workouts are. And then number three is commit to taking action. Commit this year to taking action, and all those three things together, guys, you're going to have a great year. So wanted to bring that to you guys. And again, 2020 was, again, I'm not trying to use all the cliches and stuff, but like it was an interesting year for sure. It was a crazy year. But 2021, there's a lot of things we won't control. Okay. Trust me, like just cause it's a new year doesn't mean that everything's going to be way different. Like that's the other thing I don't like. Like guys, everyone's like, oh, 2020 thing. Oh, it's over. Finally, guys, it's literally just days, right? Like it was 2020 4 days ago, whenever this drops. And so why, like things aren't just going to be different just cause it's a 1 at the end of the year now. Like, so if that's the case, right, we know there's going to be a lot of things we don't control. Well, let's buckle down and let's hit these 3 things, which we do control, and let's make sure that we do the best we can this year. And that's all that we can ask for. And again, like I said, the people who are willing to do that, if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to just say, you know what, I know I don't control everything, it's whatever, but I do control doing this way. Okay, I do control making sure that I have a plan. At least I at least have a plan. If I have nothing else is going well for me, at least I do have a plan. That's something to hang your hat on, to be honest with you. So, again, excited to get into this year, guys. I've got a lot of plans moving forward for all this stuff, and of course, you guys are a big part of everything. So I appreciate you guys, and continue to keep on working hard. Follow me on Instagram at Vision Driven Basketball. This wasn't really inspired by a DM or a comment or anything like that, but a lot of my podcast episodes are inspired by comments or DMs or whatever. So you have questions for me, send me a DM on Instagram. Just give me a follow in general. Man, you see everything that I post. If you guys are on YouTube right now, make sure you drop a like, and if you are new, subscribe as well. And also, if you have not yet, turn on post notifications just so you see every time that I post, and YouTube has to actually show you what I post so that you can actually see it. That'd be awesome. If you guys are on Apple Podcasts, I really would appreciate you go down to leave a review for me. Let me know what you think of the show so far. What your plan is for 2021, whatever it might be. Go ahead and do that for me. Would appreciate that. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.